Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our First Nations Home Energy Save webinar on mentorship in Indigenous energy and housing. Thanks for being here. My name is Erin Peterson, and I'm the program lead for climate and energy resilience at the Fraser Basin Council. I also have my colleagues Charlene and Daryl here helping out. So if you have any technical issues with Zoom, you're welcome to reach out to them in the chat. So I'm very fortunate to be calling in today from the unceded traditional territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam First Nations, here now called North Vancouver, BC. And I would like to express my gratitude that I'm able to live on these beautiful lands and play in the mountains here. So if you would like, we'd love to hear from you where you're calling in from, anything else you'd like to share with us today in the chat. Um, yeah. Welcome. So I'll just do a little bit of Zoom talking. So you'll see we've got this set up as a webinar, so you don't have the ability to unmute or turn on your camera in the session. So if you have anything you'd like to share with your fellow audience members, we'd love if you could put that in the chat. You can also use the raise hand button if you would like to ask a question out loud, then I can give you permission to do that. Or you can use the Q&A box as well. So if you have a question and you want to make sure that we get to it for our speakers, the Q&A box is the best place to put the question. And if you can't find the Q&A box or any of the other buttons, they might be hidden in the More section. So just click on the dots there and you will find hopefully what you're looking for. So just a few more introductory slides here. So who are we? We're the Fraser Basin Council. A lot of you probably already know who we are. We're a charitable nonprofit organization, and we support governments, businesses, and community organizations in advancing collaborative solutions to sustainability issues. So our programs extend across BC, and we work in three strategic areas. One is climate change and air quality. Another is watersheds and water resources, and then finally, sustainable and resilient communities is the third. This webinar is part of our First Nations Home Energy Save program, which is a capacity building program focused on empowering BC First Nations communities to transition towards energy efficient housing. So we don't directly fund projects, but we do things like virtual and in-community training. We have some small learning grants. We provide free consulting hours and webinars, workshops, events like this as well. So we will share the slides later, but we have our website here, and we also have a newsletter you can sign up for if you haven't already. And just quickly sharing a couple opportunities available through our programs. So we do have an upcoming virtual training opportunity with BCIT. We'll be offering the fundamentals of zero energy and emissions buildings. That'll be happening April to June. So if you're interested in taking that course, we'll send out the application form link with the follow-up email. You can also learn more on our website. And if you work for or with a BC First Nation, or if you're a BC First Nation member, the course will be totally free for you. Another opportunity that we have is for in-community energy efficiency workshops. This is actually from our energy efficiency mentorship program, which Tracey will be speaking about later on. So this is a workshop that happens in your community. It's for community staff, housing staff, and interested members. And so if you are interested in having one of those workshops, you can reach out to my colleague Daryl. He'll be CC'd on the follow-up email as well. And then I just wanted to share this event that's actually coming up tomorrow. One of our speakers, Crystal, is involved with organizing this, so she can probably speak to it a little bit later on as well. This is about renewable natural gas, so it's another energy opportunity for First Nations. So Crystal, did you have anything you want to add about that right now? Oh, you're on mute, but I think you said no.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. So then just looking at the agenda, we're just wrapping up the welcome. We'll head into the speaker presentation shortly. Then we'll have some time for audience Q&A, and then we will wrap up by lunchtime. So I'll start by introducing our speakers. So Crystal will be speaking first. Crystal Dixon is a member of the Heiltsuk Nation, and she serves as the Energy Program Specialist with the First Nations Energy and Mining Council. Since 2021, Crystal has worked in partnership with BC Hydro and Fortis BC. Oops, sorry, I lost my notes here. And I went to the wrong slide. Wow. Sorry. Since 2021, Crystal has worked in partnership with BC Hydro and Fortis BC to support capacity building, strengthen relationships, and create pathways for First Nations participation in clean energy across British Columbia. Crystal is passionate about mentorship, community learning, and uplifting Indigenous voices to ensure future generations carry forward inherent rights, knowledge, and leadership in the energy sector. And I'll introduce Tracey right now as well, just so that we don't have to interrupt in the middle of the presentations. So Tracey Payne is a member of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation. She's been participating as a mentee in the Fraser Basin Council's Energy Efficiency Mentorship Program. Tracey's an organized and detail-oriented professional with experience in administration, coordination, and program management. Tracey has a strong commitment to collaboration, and she brings efficiency, professionalism, and a people-centered approach into every role. Her work is grounded in integrity, adaptability, and a dedication to supporting meaningful initiatives. So with that, I'll pass it over to Crystal. I'm just going to end one set of slides and then start a new set of slides for her. But Crystal, please go ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Crystal Dixon. My Haystoch name is Dilkla Dudua, and yeah, I'm the energy program specialist, and it's a mentored position. So I work with the BC First Nations Energy and Mining Council. Thank you, Erin, for inviting me to present, and it's been on my heart and on my mind to share, especially with our people and the people that we work with, um, just my experience and getting grounded in the work and having that vision to connect with community and connect with partners and creating that bridge between the two and learning the landscape in the last working on my 5th year now, which I feel like it seems like a blink to me, but yeah, you can go on the next slide, Erin. Just Kayasika for everybody for coming, and just a little bit about the BC First Nations Energy Mining Council. It's a nonprofit organization, and the mandate comes from the First Nations Leadership Council of BC, to support and facilitate responsible mining resources development that protects the environment, ensures the cultural, economic, political well-being of First Nations. And I believe that says energy through the energy sector. But just to give a little bit of background of this position, the energy program specialist position derived out of conversations with the First Nations Energy Mining Council and Dave Porter and Paul Blum, and the team there, working with BC Hydro and Fortis BC, and they created a terms of reference for this position. And the main focus was around navigating through the complex system of applying for their funding. So I know where it started with me, with my administrative background. I've worked with my nation, so I have a community perspective, and also for me bringing in my experience as a haystock and how we move in this world, and that part is very important to me, in revitalization and reclamation and working with our partners. So I feel like that's deeply rooted within the work that I do. The other experience that I have is with Coastal First Nations Great Bear Initiative, as a receptionist, and then I went into an office manager position. I believe that's my mentorship started when I started working with my nation, and there were a lot of beautiful people along the way that shared their knowledge with me. And, I carry that with me. So I just wanted to share that. Um, and yeah, so you can go on to the next slide, please. Yeah. So the mentors that The first mentor that I have is Sarah Ozog, and she is a very passionate policy analyst, and she's, I would say, an ally, a person that has experience with nationhood. She's very familiar with the Haida. She's also very familiar with the infrastructure within the province and the navigating through the systems, climate policy, and she did an amazing master's thesis on mentorship between nation to nation. If you ever want to like Google her and look at her master's thesis, it's that was another thing for me is the academic reading was didn't come easy, but once I really started delving into what they were saying, uh, she had a lot of really good points that I implement in what I learn and how I learn and how I engage with it within relationship. So she has been the main person to help with setting up the project management guidance within the sector, narrowing down and envisioning that strategic, implementation within the work. And Trisha Thomas, Sarah is also very, very good at networking, and she had met Trisha, and she said, you're a powerhouse. We really want your voice. We really like your teachings. I'm mentoring Crystal. We would like to know if you would be um, a mentor as well. So she was invited in, and I worked with her for the first couple, maybe 2, 3 years, and we're still connected. And I still ask for, I think they're going to be lifelong mentors, which is really good, and that speaks to relationship and where we are. So she helped me with communications and facilitation. So the baseline that this position has started with is um, the transfer of knowledge between partners and mentors, and helping me navigate through. And if we can maybe go on to the next slide, and maybe I'll just share a little bit about Trisha, is there was a piece in a time where we were sitting and I was asking her, how do you like push yourself out of your comfort zone and be confident in that? And one thing that just like sparked that epiphany was she said, you just have to allow yourself to do it. You have the skill, you have the ability, you have to allow yourself to do it. And that, like to go into the partnership, I'll transition here, sorry. Um, Within the partnership, I'm very blessed to have, Janelle Anderson from Fortis, BC, and Zanetta Iwashko, Diane Roper, a very good team. We have BC Hydro, Seth Oldham, and previously I worked with Amy Seabrook before she got promoted. And I really wanted to mention her as well because she took the time to teach me, to get to know me, to open that space. And Seth really started off very strongly in, I want to say, the transfer of knowledge and the technical skills that I needed to relay information. And he encouraged me to go to school. What do you want to train? What do you want to learn? And in the path of the mentorship, there was something inside me that said, I put my arms up and I'm like, I don't want to go to school again. Like I learn best here. This is my environment. I want to learn from you guys. And they reaffirmed that. And they said, when you're ready, go, explore what you want to do. And um Yeah, so there was some hurdles that I was able to like jump over and to be able to like right now I'm kind of in this really high level of learning when it comes to facilitation. I've taken workshops at SFU. I want to get a certificate in civic dialogue and engagement. And I feel like it's a passion for me. And where that stems from is the Partners in Indigenous Energy Efficiency and Resilience program and how they broke down and the witnessing that I did with preparations for me being a facilitator in the Program Advisory Council and the critical thinking skills that these wonderful people have and that they've shared with me and that they've shared, these are our complex systems. The system that they have in place, and now they're starting to what the program advisory council is meant to do is they did a call out for the nations within the integrated system, and they asked for their input, for Indigenous input. And along the way of this development of the peer program. So there is a baseline of Indigenous knowledge and sharing within our current systems with the band office systems and the leadership systems. We have people within that program advisory council that are able to express some of their needs and what they would like and what they would like to see and how we communicate. And I feel like they're creating this window of communication and wanting to hear what are the barriers. And yeah, I feel like that was one step out of my comfort zone when it came to the facilitation. I did my first solo facilitation in October. Um, yeah, so they come in. I wanted to mention that they come in with intention, and the relationships that I've built with them are through like reciprocity and community. What I want to do um, with this is bring this into community. And how do we do that? Right? So, how do we go within the systems, staying within our integrity, within systems that, uh, like Fortis, BC, and BC Hydro, and their history is a very real one. But I want to reiterate that the people that I'm working with in the section that I am is they are really embracing the partnership and relationship. In the beginning of the terms of reference, they had the Ministry of Energy and Climate Solutions. I think it was something else before, and yeah, their capacity, I believe we're just waiting for an appointment to come, so I don't have anybody there yet, but maybe if we can continue to the next slide, please. Okay, this one's my mind has been going and going with mentorship, and I just wanted to demonstrate a little bit on my process of how I engage with the mentorship. And see on the top here, we have the leadership and we have Dave Porter. He had that vision and, through the Indigenous Leadership Initiative and the partnerships within that I just mentioned. And some of the values, so I'll go through these six topics: values, strengths, awareness, enhancing my skills, enactment, and practice. And we, as people, have moments where we celebrate milestones, and I'll share a little bit about what I've done in this position. But under our mandates, one of the things that I feel when it comes to climate action and increasing the voices of Indigenous people in the rooms and spaces of corporations and industry, that we do need to have that ethical starting point. How do we relate to the data that is being shown and in front of you? And learning to like pinpoint those and recognize them. And I feel as Indigenous people, as a haystack for sure, that is something that I have watched my leadership do. And that was another thing, is keeping in tune with what the nation is doing. How are they moving towards climate action and doing the work and having that intention. If let me know how much time I have. I'm not quite sure. I tend to just go, so let me know, Erin. Um, but I only have a few more slides here. Strength, administrative, and community led. So that is my strength, is I have a strong administrative background, but within this position, Sarah has been integral in really helping me see the vision. Also um, in community, I am very deeply rooted in Haystock, who I am as Haystock, and I'll go into the enactment part now. And when I started showing up for my community, and the Celtic have created a constitution, and that is a tool that we're using to show people who we are. And that gave me the tool to really look at the values of where we come from, and also the familial values. My family says, all we can do is show up and do our best. And I said that to myself today because, that's all we could do. We're sharing knowledge and having that ability to enhance our skills too, and having that openness to learning, making those conscious decisions with all parties, the mentees, mentors, is important. And being on that same level of, what is the path that Crystal is on. They've set up this really nice structure of a work plan, and utilizing that and really translating the work. And yeah, so going into practicing, um, you know, I I've learned a lot about how do we approach things within the work that we do. And I would like to hear from the nations on what data would you like to see shared? What is needing to be shared in the passion that, or in the work that you do? Um, yeah, so I think I touched on, yeah, awareness. So we'll go into awareness. And, you know, I've never been in a position where there was a lot of innovation. And when ideas come, when we work together, you know, I already talked about the revitalization and reclamation and what we do as people, what I've done as a person within the Celtic society, engaging with the Canadian society and the people that are there that are open and willing to share their knowledge. And how does this translate to the spaces we enter? As I walk into the work that I do, I'm going to show up as authentically who I am, and that's a practice as well. One of the things that uplifted my spirit was, during the facilitation, and when I first started, I was able to help chair the meetings and facilitate that way, but it was navigating the conversation that was something that I found really interesting, on like how do we move together? What are the pieces? What are the restrictions that they have within their systems? And finding that I found that shared value of, that transfer of knowledge and sharing understanding. And I was able to enact one of our ceremonies of uplifting in Kakila of the people that shared their minds and their hearts with me in the work that they do, because it's been just amazing, because the climate action coordinator team within Fortis BC, they have spring training and fall training. And a few times they gauged the training sessions around like facilitation. For instance, when I was first starting to learn facilitation, they implemented that within their training program, that we come together in person twice a year. And that's where that transfer of knowledge really, really helped, and harnessing what skills they see in me. And that's what one of the main points I want to make here is that your leadership will pull out the strengths that they see in you. And if we lean into that and we create that space for ourselves, like for me, I want to say as a haystack, as a person, in this field. So we can maybe go on to the next slide. Yeah, so some of the things that like the higher level, the main mission is for advancing learning and capacity building within BC First Nations and fostering meaningful connections between partners and nations. And networking, for one, is one of the things that I'm working on right now, and I would like to meet more people within community so that we can come together and see what the needs are when it comes to the development of the information sessions that I have. So I would like to say that if you would like to share what you would like to learn about, please reach out to me. And uh, I already mentioned that I'm a facilitator in the Partners in Indigenous Energy Efficiency and Resilience Program Advisory Council. And yeah, that process in itself, I feel that is, you know, what we've shared too is the restriction that sometimes the corporations have and they're bound by, but the enactment of gathering us together and really hearing what we have to share and with our experience, and um, yeah, so just fostering that. Um, so yeah, enhancing BC First Nations needs on capacity building is important in this position. So I would like to take this time just to do that call out and say that if you have stories to share and funding opportunities that you would like to seek, I am here. I am learning to navigate through those systems. And I will be starting to do more newsletters. We have our website. I put the information sessions I have on the website under the events tab now. And yeah, if you need navigation and support with any questions, and I can show up and do my best to connect you with the right people. So um, yeah, for me, the energy program specialist role is not technical work, it's relationship work. And it's learning how to walk between nations and partners, carrying over values forward while creating space for the future generations. And that's heart work. I'm a big feeler, so I'm going to just take this time to, say Gayasika, and I hope to see and meet some of you. And this slide here is just my information and how you can contact me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Crystal. We really appreciate you sharing all of your mentorship, your experiences and with mentorship and your role. So I'm sure folks will reach out, and I will send out your contact info. If are you okay with me sharing your slides with folks as well? Amazing.
Yes.
Great. So I'm going to end the slideshow, but thank you again, Crystal. That was amazing. And I will pass the mic over to Tracey next. So welcome, Tracey. I will leave it to you.
Sounds good. My name is Tracey Payne from tsleil Nation. Just going to be talking about the mentorship for energy and housing and my experience in the EEMP program, Energy Efficiency Mentorship Program, has both been enlightening and transformative. The program deepened my understanding of efficiency principles and the real world impact on sustainability and environment responsibility. As a mentee in the energy efficiency mentorship program, my experience has been both educational and deeply meaningful. One of the most impact parts of the program was the opportunity to engage with First Nations communities throughout British Columbia to discuss energy efficiency solutions, particularly heat pump technology. Through this experience, I've learned that conversations about energy are not just technical, they're connected to community priorities, cultural values, affordability, housing conditions, and long term sustainability. Speaking about heat pumps requires me to clearly explain how they work, their benefits in cold climates, potential cost savings, and their role in reducing greenhouse emissions. At the same time, I had to listen carefully and respectfully to community concerns, questions, and lived experiences. This experience strengthened my communication skills and cultural awareness. It taught me the importance of approaching energy efficiency not as a one size fits all solution, but as a collaborative effort rooted in trust, transparency, and respect. I gained a deeper understanding of the unique energy challenges many First Nations communities face, including infrastructure limitations and high energy costs. Being part of the EEMP allowed me to grow not only in technical knowledge about sustainable heating systems, but also in empathy, leadership, and community engagement. It enforced my beliefs that advancing energy efficiency must go hand in hand with meaningful partnership and community driven solutions. Overall, my role as a mentee speaking with First Nations about heat pumps has been a powerful learning experience that has shaped how I view sustainable work, both as technical field and a responsible to serve communities respectfully and collaboratively. Through EEMP, I gained practical knowledge about energy conversation strategies, sustainable technology, and efficient resource management. The mentorship component has especially valued learning directly from experienced professionals, provided insight into industry practices, emerging trends, and real challenges in implementing energy efficient solutions. One of the most impactful aspects of the program was the opportunity to apply theoretical concepts to practical scenarios, whether analyzing energy usage, exploring renewable alternatives, or discussing policy and environmental impact. I developed a strong analytical and problem solving skills. The collaborative environment also engaged teamwork, communication, and exchange of innovative ideas. Beyond technical knowledge, EEMP strengthened my sense of responsibility toward sustainable development. It reinforced the importance of making informed decisions that balance economic growth and environmental protection. Overall, the Energy Efficient Mentorship Program has equipped me with both the technical foundation and the mindset needed to continue meaningful to a more sustainable and energy conscious future. Challenges and lessons learned. Comfort zone as a challenge and lesson learned. One of the biggest challenges I faced as a mentee in the energy efficient mentorship program was stepping outside my comfort zone. Speaking with First Nations communities about heat pumps required me to move beyond what felt familiar and safe. I had a present technical information, confidentially answered unexpected questions, and engaged in meaningful discussions with community members, all while being mindful, respectful, and culturally aware. At first, I felt nervous about whether I would explain concepts clearly or be able to respond effectively to concerns about cost, infrastructure, and long term reliability. I realized that the technical knowledge alone was not enough. I needed stronger communication skills, empathy, and active listening. However, pushing past the discomfort became one of the most valuable parts of the experience. It taught me that growth happens when we challenge ourselves. I became more confident in public speaking, more adaptable in conversations, and more comfortable handling complex or sensitive topics. I also learned that it's okay not to have every answer. And what matters is honesty, openness, and a willingness to learn alongside the community. Stepping outside my comfort zone helped me grow both professionally and personally. It strengthened my leadership skills and showed me that meaningful impact often requires courage and vulnerability. Challenges and lessons learned. Challenges during the mentorship program. A challenge was addressing concerns around affordability, infrastructure, readiness, and housing conditions in some communities. Older homes, limited electrical capacity, or funding barriers made the conversation more complex than simple presenting heat pumps as a solution. I learned that energy efficient discussions must consider real life constraints, not just technical performance. Building trust was also a significant challenge as a mentee. I had to ensure that I approached every conversation with humility and respect, recognizing that historical and social contexts that shaped relationships between external programs and First Nation communities. Lesson learned. One of the most important lessons I learned is that listening is just as important as presenting information. Meaningful engagement begins with understanding community priorities, concerns, and lived experiences. I also learned that sustainability energy solutions must be community driven while heat pumps offer environmental and economic benefits. Successful adoption depends on collaboration, cultural awareness, and long term support rather than one time presentations. Additionally, this experience strengthened my communication and leadership skills. I became more confident in facilitating discussions, responding to challenging questions, and adapting my message to different audiences. Overall, these challenges helped me to grow not only as a learner in the EAMP program, but as someone committed to respectful inclusion and practical approaches to energy efficiency. And that's the end.
Great. Thank you so much, Tracey. It was wonderful to hear all about your experience in energy efficiency mentorship program. So it looks like we've got about 15 minutes left for questions for Crystal and Tracey. So if anyone does have a question, you can either put it in the Q&A box, you can raise your hand if you'd like to speak, or you can also put it in the chat and we'll try to keep track of that as well. But the Q&A box is the best spot for questions, so please go ahead. Oh, I see a question here, Tracey. For you, I think, were any concerns raised by communities about running heat pumps during wildfire smoke events?
Yes, there was.
Was that around like damage to the heat pumps or just air quality concerns in general or
Both. So how
both?
the
Yeah.
heat pump would work during a wildfire. And but yeah, you go through the technical things of the heat pumps, and it does filter out majority of the smoke. Because I do have a heat pump in my house as well. And when we had the fire smoke coming through, it actually blocked out a lot of the smoke compared to somebody else that didn't have one.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for the question, Megan. If there are more questions, feel free to keep putting them in the Q&A there. Um, I'll try to keep track. I do have a question kind of my own. I think you sort of touched on this, both of you, so I'm not sure who wants to answer first, but if you were chatting to a young Indigenous person who had the opportunity to be mentored in this field, what advice would you give them for how to approach it or how to make the most of it? Maybe I'll pass it to Crystal first.
Yeah, I would say, I'll pull some of the Celtic values out here and, coming in, or probably some other nations as well can relate. Um, be open-minded to learn and to learn about who you are and what gifts that you have to share. And know that with experience and yeah, that we can move forward together as a nations within the systems that weren't made for us, and that in the clean energy field, there's so many beautiful leadership that have been doing the hard work along with, aligning the projects with our values, and that's integral in, sustainability. And yeah, I think that would be my advice. Openness to learn. How do you engage with the relationships that you have? And that's another thing that I've learned is the relationship with partners, the relationship with learning, the relationship with, the things that you need to work on and engage with.
Thanks so much, Crystal. Tracey, did you have anything to add on that? Advice for young Indigenous folks who have the opportunity to be mentored?
Yeah, I would also say as long as you're open-minded and you want to learn, going along like as a mentee, like myself. At first, I was kind of iffy about it, but I was also in renovations for our First Nation, so I was like, "Hi, I want to learn a little bit more what happens with these things in different areas throughout the province." So yeah, it's a challenge, but if as long as you're comfortable with learning, being open, and following the protocols and stuff, it's really good to be into it.
Thanks, Tracy. So we do have a couple questions from the audience now. So there's a question here around what advice would you give to companies or entities, I'm assuming non-Indigenous companies or entities who are looking to work with First Nations in this field? Um, Either whoever would like to answer first, or I can put someone on the spot. Maybe I'll pass it back to Crystal.
Yeah, I think some of the message that I heard, the messages from leadership that I've heard over time is that when it comes to partnerships, as Indigenous people, we do trust and um, sometimes too easily, but knowing that with, to go in with intention, with relationship building, with understanding where we come from, with the baseline of, we are working on ourselves. How do we fit within the society in the paradigm of us as Indigenous people in this world, and what values we have to share and wisdom to share, to be open to accepting it, because we have been silenced for way too long, and it is time for us to accept each other's for who we are in true partnership as human beings and in the work that we do, because we're passionate about our communities. We're passionate about who we are. So, Jessica,
Thanks
for
so
the
much,
question.
Crystal. Yeah, for sure. Tracey, anything to add for you? Advice for non-Indigenous companies hoping to work with First Nations?
Yeah, I mean, we always are open to having different companies working with First Nations. I would just say reach out to the main office of that First Nations just to say, hey, is there somebody I can speak to? Let them know like what company you want to that you're doing, so that they can forward it to the right person and then start the engagement that way, or and also get to the person that they're forwarding you to their contact information. So just in case it doesn't work out, that you can reach out to them as well.
Thanks, Tracey. There's a question in the chat about sharing contact info. Tracey and Crystal, would you be willing to share your email addresses with the folks in the chat today? Amazing. Okay, I can drop those in there, or if you want to throw your email in, just make sure you're messaging everyone rather than just the host and panelists. But I can also copy and paste them if you're having trouble with the chat there. Um, okay, both emails are now in the chat. Amazing. So there is a question around funding programs. This one might be a little bit out of like the knowledge base that we have here today. The questioner is looking for a program that supports housing upgrades or hoarding when also supporting energy upgrades. Do either of you have either of you heard of a program like that? I know that there are sort of there is sort of health and safety funding available through various organizations, but generally I haven't heard of it being connected to energy efficiency. Um, don't know, Tracey or Crystal, if you have anything to add on that.
So yeah, there's actually different grants that you can get for the energy efficiency upgrades through like BC Hydro, Fortis. So when you upgrade to the heat pumps, you get a certain amount back from them. But I think that's about it for the energy upgrades here in BC.
Crystal, anything to add on that one about energy efficiency funding or housing funding? I think it's a little bit outside maybe your work area.
Yeah, I think, well, what I've heard, I've been to housing, or they had a regional housing forum. I can't remember the name of the people that hosted, but it was in Chilliwack, Kelowna, and I think they're going to Prince George. And I can look for that information and share it if you would like to reach out to me. I know they were talking about having sessions. I think it's the Housing Managers Forum. They're the ones that are starting to explore hoarding. I'm not too sure about the funding around it, but education for our people in community and creating the knowledge base around home ownership, and there's different layers to how do we stop hoarding, but I believe there will be a venue for housing managers through the housing forum where they have their lunch and learns, and they talk about strategies within community member or community housing managers that have that experience. So if you would like that connection, please reach out to me. And as for the other ones, I just know the peer program has for the integrated nations can access funding through there. And I know they will have that's also another session that might be coming up on getting an update on where they are with the implementation of the 5 programs that are being integrated for the First Nations within the integrated systems. I'm not too familiar with the non-integrated, so that's what I have to offer. But if you'd like to reach out to me, I can assist.
There's also within our nation, we have a housing liaison person that helps out the ones that don't want to reach out, but they know, like the liaison knows about that person hoarding. So they'll go meet with that person to get connection of, trying to get their house organized and stop, having so much stuff in it. And we supply bins for them to throw out their stuff, as well as picking up junk people. We have the 1-800 junk people that will pick up the junk that they throw out to the curb.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful. Oh yeah, it looks like there's also some more comments if you look in the Q&A. Brady suggested some other rebate programs. Yeah, there are quite a lot of funding programs available for energy efficiency. There's also the BC Community Climate Funding Guide is another place you can look to see all the different options available. So I can put that link in the follow-up email as well. The next question is around challenges or obstacles that you've seen in First Nations that have made it difficult to adopt or integrate new technologies. Just wondering if you have any examples of, yeah, challenges or obstacles to adopting new technologies.
I don't have any specific um, examples, um, but one of the things that come to mind for me is in community engagement with the nations and how that was one of the questions that I had going into the different rooms, especially when it came to BC Hydro and Forest Species. Uh, the name flew out of my head right now. Integrated Resource Plan and how they do community engagement. And I feel with nations, how do we adopt them is through our people and aligning our values with it. Does it align ethically? That starting point between, and that's with different layers, the partnership layer, along with the community layer on creating the knowledge base. And a good example for renewable natural gas is that they're using waste to create methane, and the system that they build, how does that ethically align with us? Is that we're not wasting food and that we're creating a different energy to go into a current system. That's my opinion. And how do we get through that framework is teaching, knowledge sharing, and creating the space for that change and understanding. Uh, I attended a meeting yesterday and it was within community, and there were some contentions there and frustration. And one of the things that I'm learning as a person is balancing the two. We have the good and we have the bad. We have the white and we have the black. It's, but looking at it, bringing it up to this perspective of how do we create solutions within this complex system, including when we're trying to get the buy-in of our nation, and how will that translate to sustainability is having those difficult conversations and being okay with the discomfort. Yeah, that would be my answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal. Anything to add on that one, Tracy?
No, she hit everything.
Amazing.
I think it's pretty
So,
much all First Nations.
great. So we're about to wrap up. We just have 1 minute left, but I did notice there was an additional question in the chat from Cheryl just asking about the high cost of putting in energy efficient technology and how nations are affording it. Other than rebates, what are you seeing nations doing to afford these kind of energy efficiency upgrades?
Besides the rebates, our nation also has economic development that pulls in money for different things as well as different grants throughout Canada that you can apply for to get a lot of this covered. But a lot of money does come from the money that our economic development pulls in for our houses here on this nation. For different nations, I think it's mostly grants they go by is a lot of getting the grants and the funding from BC Hydro and Fortis and yeah, different grants throughout Canada.
Thanks, Tracy. Anything to add on that, Crystal?
No, I don't. I don't have anything to add on that. The experience within community when it comes to that is I need to get more in tune with the pulse of things and experience as well and connection in community. So I plan to do that as well. So if you would like to share your stories, I open it up again.
Great, thank you. Well, it looks like we're basically at our wrap-up time. So I just really want to thank Crystal and Tracy so much for sharing your stories with us today. Thank you to everyone in the audience who took the time to listen and be here with us in this space and for asking your questions. We will follow up with the recording, we'll follow up with the slides, and we'll follow up with any of the resources and events that we mentioned today. So expect that email within a week or so. Otherwise, when you close the webinar, I think a survey will come up in your browser. So if you're able to fill that out, that'll help us make future webinars even better. But otherwise, please enjoy your lunch. And I think, Tracy, because I gave away the hosting to you, I think you actually have to end the webinar. So if you don't mind just going and ending the webinar, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Okay, have a
Bye,
good day.
everyone.